chapter 12, verse 10 to 20. This is the story about Abraham and his wife, Sarah. Okay? This was before God changed his name to Abraham. Okay? So God told Abraham, the same person. So God told Abraham to go to Egypt and leave Canaan because there was a bad famine. So he had to leave his land, Canaan, right? So as he was walking, getting closer and closer to Egypt, as he was getting closer and closer to Egypt, Abraham told his wife, Sarah, to say, look, we have to leave our land because of the situation that's going on. We have to leave our country, leave the family, but now we got to go through Egypt. Do we want to go through Egypt? No, but we got to go through Egypt. Okay? So, Sarah, I'm going to need you to tell them that we brothers and sisters. Do not tell them that you are my wife. You good? That's the part where I'm at. Because Sarah, she was a beautiful woman. Okay? Keep that in mind. You can pause this video and read the whole thing, but I'm just going to talk about the story, okay? So, as they getting closer and closer in Egypt, the Egyptian people, well, wait, let me back up. So, so Abraham is telling Sarah to say, look, don't tell them that you are my wife, okay? Because you are a beautiful woman. And when the Egyptians see you, they will say, oh, this is his wife. Let's kill him. And then we can have her. So please tell them that you are my sister. And then they will spare my life and treat me well because of their interest in you. Now, how many of y'all had that experience where somebody is treating you so nice, especially a girl that probably live down the street, or the girl that you go to school with, and she like your brother and she being all nice to you, but you know she mean and she stuck up, but because she like your brother, she being all nice to you. This remind me of Love and Basketball, when the girl was so attracted to what's his name, the basketball player, I forgot his name, but he always hang out with what's her name? The one that the girl that Sandra played, or whatever her name is. So she being nice. It's like that. So keep that in mind as they walking through Egypt. So he said, verse 14. Sure enough, verse 14 it said, sure enough, when Abram arrived in Egypt, everyone who saw Sarah beauty, they was giving her praises. They sang praises to the Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. And then Sarah was taken into his palace. Nah. Some of you gonna be wondering, like, why would God put her in that situation? Like, where was God at? A lot of you got questions. I'm gonna get to that point later. But keep this in mind. This is what's happening. So, the Pharaoh, who is the king, Sarah was taken into his palace. She was a G, because she was like, look, I know God told me, we're going to go through trial and tribulation, but I trust my husband, Abraham, because he's the man of God. And I have seen and witnessed so many things that God has done for my husband, Abraham. Now, if you had a question. Now, let's go to verse 15. We're still in the same chapter. We're still in the same verse. Then Pharaoh gave Abraham so many gifts because of Sarah's beauty. The king of Egypt gave Abraham sheep, goat, cattle, mares, donkeys, all kinds of animals. So think of it like today, what would a king or a president give you in this day and age? money or land. Think of it like that, okay? So, then the Lord, he sent a terrible plague upon Pharaoh and his household because Abram was Sarah's wife. So the Pharaoh summoned to Abram and accused him sharply. What have you done to me? He demanded. Why didn't you tell me that Sarah was your wife? Why did you tell me that she was your sister? Hold on now. Why did you allow me to take Sarah, your wife, as my wife? And then the Pharaoh said, nah, get out of here. Here is your wife. Take her and get out of here. So the Pharaoh ordered some of the men to escort them out. And he sent Abram out the country and his wife with all his possession, okay? Now, some of you might be wondering, well, what happened when Sarah was in the palace? Well, we don't know. You may be wondering, was she raped? Was she, but keep in mind, God had a plan. Keep in mind, if y'all know the story, Sarah wasn't able to have kids, okay? So if God would have told her all the things that she was going to go through in all the trial and tribulation, would she would have been like, well, God, I don't want to go to Egypt or nothing like that. Sometimes God don't tell you stuff because if he would have told you, you would have never got to your destination. Okay? Because keep in mind, God is the beginning and the ending. So, you know, to get to the ending, we're gonna have to go through some trial and tribulations. Nah. Don't trying to say, oh, God just said it just gonna be right. No. She trusted her husband Abraham. And keep in mind, I'm gonna get to the last point. So let's go to Genesis chapter 20, verse 1 to 17. It's the same situation that happened, but it was in a different country. So let's go there. Now, this one was different, okay? The Egyptians didn't really have a relationship with God. They were pretty much disconnected, and they were more interested in being self-engulfed into the nature. And keep in mind, we were a spirit first before we were born into a flesh, okay? So before Sarah and Abraham, now God changed his name to Abraham. And God changed Sarah's name to Sarah with the A-H, okay? So then, Abraham moved to the south of Negev and lived there between the Kadesh and Gerar. Okay, so Abraham introduced his wife Sarah, saying, "This is my sister." Okay, they approached the king of Abimelech. Okay, the king of Abimelech. The king of Abimelech. Okay, so now in Genesis 20, Abraham's name was changed to Abraham. His name was Abraham, but when we get to Genesis 20, now his name is what? Abraham. And then his wife's name changed from Sarai to Sarah. It was Sarah to Sarah. I don't know exactly. So they were approaching, I'm on Genesis 20, verse 1 to 17. As they got to the land of Negev, they introduced themselves, and Abraham said, "Hello, this is my sister," to King Abimelech. Okay, King Abimelech was the king of Gerar. Okay, Nah, he did the same thing that he did in Egypt. But it wasn't because that he thought that well, let's get to that point. Let me just read it. So the king Abimelech of Gerar requested for Sarai and had her brought to his palace. And then it said that night God came to King Abimelech in a dream and told him, you are a dead man, for that woman is already taken, is already married. But the king Abimelech had not slept with her yet. So he said, Lord, will you destroy my innocent nation? Didn't Abraham tell me she is my sister? Meaning, didn't Abraham tell me that she is his sister? And she said to herself, yes, he is my brother. I was innocent, God. My hand is clean. So in the dream, God said, yes, I know you're innocent. That's why I kept you from sinning against me. And why I did not let you touch her. Now, return the woman back to her husband, for he will pray for you, and he is a prophet. Then you will live. But if you don't return her to that man, you consider that you and all your people will die. So King Abimelech got up the next morning, and he quickly called for all his servants to come together. And he told him what happened. Then the king Abimelech said, Abraham, look what you have done to me. Why didn't you tell me that was your wife? What have I done? What did I do to deserve this kind of treatment? And this is what Abraham said. I thought this place was godless, that y'all or them will want my wife and would kill me to get to her. And she really is my sister. We both have the same dad, but different mothers. Now keep in mind, re-ingenuity. What was God's purpose for the people in the beginning? To be fruitful and multiply. So yeah, it has to be ugly, but keep in mind, God is the what? Beginning and the ending. So we have to go through trial and tribulation to get to the ending, which is the destination of what? The promised land, of heaven, of get rid of the darkness and the evilness. Okay? Because God is the God of righteousness and he's the God of fairness. God gave us free will. If God would have never gave us free will, he wouldn't have been a fair God. He wouldn't have been a God of justice. Okay? Now, and he said, and I married her. When God called me to leave my father's home and travel to a place from a place, because Abraham had to travel to different places. And God, so let me go back. So when God called me to leave my father's home and travel from places to places, I told her to do me a favor. Wherever we go, tell people that I am your brother. Because he wasn't lying. He wasn't lying. They have the same father, but they have a different mother. Okay? So, the king of Abimelech blessed Abraham, gave him like so much silver, 1,000 silver. He just kept getting blessed. So they trusted God, okay? We live in a very wicked world, okay? We live in a very wicked society. It's evil in earth, okay? It's evilness in its place. So as we going through our journey and walking through the valley of death, and you know, and the Bible says, see no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil, as we go through the valley of death. Why? Because our flesh died, right? But our spirit lives forever. So we got to get through the journey to get to the place we want to be. So some of you might have questions like, well, because even though King Ember Malik, he served God. He had a relationship with God. So that's why God was able to warn him. Because as long as we still in our flesh, we still gonna have a selfish nature. It's just in it. It's like we're trying to survive and eat. And sometimes when we're not pleasing God, our flesh can lead us to destruction. Okay? Our flesh is gonna die. Okay? Our flesh don't live forever, but our spirit do. So we contribute whether we want to go down or we want to go up. We contribute whether we want to heal, or we contribute if we want to be negative and be depressed and be in a negative energy state. Okay? Third, even though King Ember Malik had a selfish, a guilty conscience, he still had a relationship with God, okay? He was tempted. I would just say that. But God prevented it from happening. Why? Because he had a relationship with God. Now, the king, Pharaoh didn't have a relationship with God. Okay? So, it's like when you're not under God's covenant, you're not going to be protected. So, when you're away from God's covenant and you sin, God is the God of righteousness, the God of justice. You get what you call for. Okay? Third, remember, Pharaoh was going to kill Abraham just to take his wife Sarah. Okay? But did Abraham lie and say that Sarah was his sister? No. He just kept information that didn't need to be informed. That didn't need to be said. So sometimes you gotta confuse the enemy. He's not saying that you gotta lie to confuse the enemy. He's just saying you don't need to share too much information with the enemy, because you would give the enemy power to destroy you, if that makes sense. So it's the same way when we are disobedient from God. We are let go from being protected under his covenant from sin. Because even though we still have a need to eat and drink, earthly things, which is only temporary, but the real bread and the real water that we need, we will never be thirsty again when we rose with God in heaven.